everyone, Cola with GrowingYourGreens.com coming at you in HD from the backyard garden. And today we got another exciting episode for you, and this one's not a fun one. This one's having to do with pests in your garden. And one particular kind of pest you may be having, and I know I am. Now this stumped me for a couple days, and I was like, what the heck's going on? You know, and what happened was this. I simply came outside, and these are my beautiful perennial purple tree collards that under extreme conditions, like the nice hot summer heat, they do flower and go to bolt and seed, but that's all right. You can cut these guys off, they'll continue to grow, and I have let these go on to full term and flower, seed, and then produce the seeds, and then cut them back, and then the plant continues to grow, and this is simply amazing. So this year what happened was they went to seed, and then I came out and like all the seed pods are getting jacked up, like, okay John, what's going on? Usually at the end of the season, when the seeds are finally done and it's dried, the seed pods will bust open and drop the seeds everywhere, and then I'll have tree collards coming up my wazoo. But in this case, the seed pods are still green and they're looking all messed up and damaged. And I'm like, man, what's going on here? And I couldn't figure it out until I was walking outside just the other day. So actually, let me show you guys actually what I saw when I was walking outside. So now I'm about to go outside and show you guys what those little bird dudes are doing in my thing. Alright, oh, got the zoom there. See that little sucker? Look at what that little sucker's doing. There's a little bird. He's eating my tree collard seeds. Little scumbag. Look at that. He's snacking out, man. That's a nice fat source for him. Totally eating it. So we're going to have to prevent him from eating my tree collard seeds anymore. So here's the damage to the tree collard seeds. The birds basically peck these open like little bean pods. They eat all the little beans out. These are not even developed seeds yet because they haven't been out long enough, but they're high sources of fat for the birds. And yes, we can actually also eat them. Wouldn't give us a lot of food. I'd rather save these for the seeds themselves. And you know, they're really tearing these guys up. I don't know if I'm even going to have a good yield of seeds this year because they've really picked the majority of these guys up, and you know, because now it was highly damaged, I might not have any tree collard seeds. So I mean, this is what nature does. So we're gonna have to be proactive and take some steps so that they cannot do this in the future. So come back at you in a second. So man, isn't that incredible? You guys saw the little bugger, man. The little dude was eating my seeds. I mean, it's all good. I'm glad I could feed nature, but you know, he needs to be eating something else, not my rare perennial tree collard seeds that rarely go to seed. And these seeds are quite valuable because I want to save the genetic diversity to spread those to other people so that they can also grow these cool plants. So I had to figure out a solution so that the birds can't get in here to eat, but make it also convenient for me to still harvest my tree collards when I want to eat them. So, you know, I could go out and buy bird netting, and, you know, that'd be an expense of having to buy more stuff, or I could get, you know, hang some CDs, some compact discs on string, and then that would kind of spin around, and it would kind of like maybe scare the birds, because that could be good. Or you could take some like Mylar film, like Mylar balloon, that material, cut it up into little strips, and then like tie them off to place, and that may blow in the wind and scare the birds and keep them away. And while those methods may work, it doesn't really protect your junk in the trunk. I like protecting my junk, especially when I'm playing sporting events. But anyways, we're going to protect my tree collard seeds because they are that important, and they haven't even yet developed. They're still babies and they're getting eaten. It makes me so sad. So let me next show you guys how I'm going to protect my tree collard seeds with a cool item that actually I just happened to save. So now we're going to show you guys how I'm going to protect my tree collard seeds from getting eaten from the birds. Got these bags here. So what these bags are, they're like a poly bag, and actually I get coconuts in these when I buy coconuts in bulk in the husk. And I guess sometimes these bags are very similar to like the bags you might get a big bag of potatoes or a big bag of onions, you know, or a big bag of oranges sometimes. But this is like the super huge, gigantic size. Usually the ones for potatoes or onions are a little bit smaller. I don't know where else you'd get these, but I have these laying around because, you know, I really don't like throwing anything out, and that could be a good thing, you know, if you're gardening and you're single like I am, but it could be a bad thing if you're married. So, good thing I got a good big garage, and maybe I'll even build a shed here to store some of my extra junk. But hey, one man's junk is another man's treasure. And this today is a treasure because it's going to allow me to save my perennial tree collard seeds from getting eaten by the birds. And maybe another solution would be get a good cat. Anyway, so all we're going to do is we're going to take this big bag here, and as you can see, there's the opening. I mean, this bag is so huge, it'll fit on me. Stick them up. I want all your vegetables. So we're going to take this bag and put all these stalks here that have the seeds growing. If they just have the leaves, I'm not going to keep them in the bag because I want to be able to harvest those guys. And luckily, most of the guys that have the seeds can be segregated out, and I think they're right here. So we're going to take all these guys on one plant and we're going to bag it on up. And to help inside this little bag here, I got a bamboo stick to keep this straight. Hopefully that's going to allow me to put this on a little bit easier so it doesn't collapse on me. And we're just going to go ahead and stick this all the way in. Just like putting a baggie over your junk when you're going to use it. Alright, so the last thing is we want to go ahead and grab some string here. We just got some jute twine. Just going to go ahead and roll off a bunch and just break it off. And we're going to tie off the bottom. This is very important so that the wind doesn't blow this off and the birds won't be actually to be able to get inside and then get up in there and have free reign. So we're just going to go ahead and pull this pretty taut. Here, that's a cool word, taut. I was taught a lot of stuff in school, but I'm also able to pull this taut and tie it off. Bet you I didn't know I was an English major. Actually, I wasn't an English major. So don't learn English from me, just learn gardening. Alright, so we got this taut here. Just going to go ahead and put our string around and just tie this guy off. Alright, we're all tied off, and check it out. This is now my protected tree collard seeds. A couple are sticking out here. They might be able to get to them. But that's alright. The majority of them are now going to be safe from the birds, and now I'll be able to harvest them for my uses instead of the birds eating them. Another thing I was considering for, Mother Nature and for the birds, because, it's really sad in this day and age that the birds have to come to my garden to eat my perennial tree collard seeds. I mean, they are mineral dense, mineral rich with trace minerals. Probably taste better than anything else they could find in this big city because, there's not a lot of nature that could feed the birds anymore. So I did consider, maybe getting a bird bath and actually a bird feeder to feed them and supply them with food. But then I don't want necessarily to encourage birds to come into my place because when that runs out, they might come to my garden and eat and know that this is a valuable food source for them. So I don't really want to encourage them to come, so I decided just to wrap this up and just let them find somewhere else to go. Another thing that may happen that has happened to me before is that in the heat of the summer when I have nice, juicy, plump red tomatoes, the birds are going to come and peck at the tomatoes. Now, they're not necessarily pecking to eat the tomatoes, they're pecking for the water. Tomatoes are full of water, and that's why they're good for us. Besides their water content, they're rich in things like lycopene and other nutrients. So, at that point, I may just have a bird bath to see if I could divert them, to go to the bird bath instead of pucking my tomatoes for the water. Or I might just use these bags once again to cover my tomato plant if they're pretty small so that I could eat my tomatoes and not the birds. So, the last thing I want to mention today is that there will always be creatures, pests, whatever you want to call them, whether they're birds, alligators, lizards, moles, voles, cats, dogs, rabbits, raccoons, anything. They're going to be coming at you, bro, to your garden to eat your stuff because you are providing them food. You're providing them gourmet food that they can't get anywhere else. Some of the best stuff, especially if you're using some of my growing practices, including a lot of organic matter, the compost, and some of the trace minerals, man, the food's really going to light them up like it lights you up when you're eating it. So, but there's always a way to keep them out and just be persistent. Use your brain and think of creative ways you can use to, keep them out. I mean, I would normally have to go and buy some, bird cloth or whatever, and that costs some money. But I had these guys laying around, and I always love to find reuses for some things that I have saved previously. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode. You're a little bit more motivated now to, deter pests however you can. Once again, my name is John Kohler with GrowingYourGreens.com. We'll see you next time, and remember, keep on growing.